My name is Sarah. I'm a professional services consultant here at Turnitin. And today we will be looking at our newest product, our new software, SimCheck, as a solution that offers parity to Ephorus. Not just parity, but actually goes way above and beyond some of the functionalities that you have at the moment. So let's get started. And first things first, a few things about how to ask questions and how to interact. On your side panel, you can open and close your chat. So if you're using the app, it's going to look something like this. If you're using it directly from your browser, it's going to look something like this. You can just click on the question mark and ask your questions. At any time, you can just view, select, and change your audio and chat and ask questions. A little bit about the presentation today. I will be speaking for about 20 minutes to half an hour, and then we will have 10 minutes to 15 minutes to any question that you might have. But please feel free to ask them throughout the presentation, and I will go through them at the end. In terms of what we will be doing and seeing today, we will take a look at the SimCheck and our value. What is it that makes us different, and why is it that we developed this solution to replace Ephorus? How to use SimCheck. So we will take a look at SimCheck and the options that you have available as a user, and how you can get started with SimCheck now. So some things like guides, help resources, etc. And at the time, we'll have some time for questions and answers as well. First things first, SimCheck still addresses your needs, the same needs that you probably had before. So it will prevent copy and paste plagiarism taken from the internet. It will check against student collusion. So your papers are compared against your internal database, and it is easy to implement at scale. So it's actually much easier to implement if you're using it in your institution, or if you want to implement it in your whole department, or across a couple of institutions that want to create a consortium. But it also checks against a much bigger database. So it has the most comprehensive coverage. When you are comparing the paper against the internet repository, it actually compares against 70 billion current and archived web pages. And that includes recent content that is available right now, and content that was saved in our repository. So historic content that may not be available anymore, but is there for you to compare against still. This is because we have our own internal crawler developed in-house. Therefore, we do not depend on third parties to check this content. This is also one of the reasons why we have really quick and clear results. The reports generate in a few minutes. Usually in less than 5 minutes, you will get a similarity report. And because it is the newest member of Turnitin's family, you have a very modern and responsive platform that is super reliable as well. So 99.9% reliability here. And mostly it will help you check with security. You know it's going to be available, you know it's going to check against a great database, and you know it's going to check against your internal users as well, so your students. On the other hand, it still supports all the file types you're used to, and more. Anything from Excel files, Word, PowerPoint, Google files, PDFs, etc. There is a long list, and you can go through this whole list either on the guides, or when you try to submit, there is actually some information about that. We support Dropbox submissions as well, and you can integrate SimCheck with your workflow. So if you would use it with Canvas, Moodle, Sakai, Right now, these are the 3 integrations that are supported and used, but we have some other integrations being tested as we speak. And it offers a seamless user experience so that you can use it from any device. If you're using an iPad or your phone or your computer, you can just quickly log into it and check any relevant, check the information that you want to. So very accessible and responsive to any device that you use. It is powerful, scalable, and reliable, mostly because it's so recent, it's so new. Therefore, it's even faster. It's even more reliable than for example, in this case, Ephorus. You can use it through an integration at any time with your LMS, and you can also ensure and make sure that we have local data centers that store your content near home. So this was something that we wanted to make sure we could address, because, as you know, it was addressed before with Ephorus, and we wanted to make sure we would continue providing you with this option. Of course, we're super. It's a big concern for Turnitin to always be compliant with GDPR and SOC 2. We continue to be compliant, and also we are more secure and private. Each institution is given a private repository, so you can store your database internally. It is only shared and checked against your peers and against students from the same institution, and you can choose to save it or not in the private repository as well. In terms of our service centers, we have one in the European Union, one in the US, one in APAC. And again, this is just to ensure that you have the information close to you. You have a private repository, which means that institutions cannot search against it. But if you want to get into a consortia with 3, 4, 5 accounts in order to share this information with them and allow institutions to work together and check internally, you can do that really seamlessly. Additionally to that, you have support guides in the website for administrators and users with the step-by-step guidance. And of course, as a team here, your professional services consultants and your account managers will always do the best to help out with any questions that you have, with any worries or any issues that you might be facing. So you're not alone there. Regarding the differences between Ephorus and SimCheck, we can start by taking a look at the report here, just so you can really feel the difference visually of Ephorus platform and SimCheck's new platform. So this is an example of an Ephorus report where you have the matches at the top, and then you have the matching content in red, where you have to click and unclick in order to view as well the sources. If we take a look at the SimCheck report, as you can see, it's very clear. It gives us a lot of information, and it's visually easy to recognize the different sources because they are identified with different numbers, colors, etc. And for a little bit more of information, we can see the author and paper details, the PDF with color-coded highlight matches, but it actually keeps the exact same formatting. So if there are images, if they are in a specific type, in a specific font, etc., it saves that information. It's very accessible and easily responsive to mobile devices, and it's very easy to interpret and customize your reports. And I will show you a little bit more about that in just a second. So let's take a look at SimCheck and how to confidently prevent plagiarism. I'm just going to get out of my screen here and start my the demo within the product. The first thing I would like you to know is that everyone with an account will receive an institutional link, as you can see here at the top of my screen. And this link will allow you to log into your account. If you're an administrator, you will see something like this. So a few options for the account on the left and on the right side. If you are a normal user and not an administrator, or as an administrator, I can also launch that view. I will see this screen. So mainly we can take a look at the folders and at my submissions at the center. On the left side, I have my personal options for my own account and for my own submissions. And I can quickly start using SimCheck. So as you can see, there is an easy way to make a submission, just like you had before. The same easy setup, where I can either upload a file straight away or add a folder. I'm going to start by uploading a standard file by clicking on this option. And this will allow me to select the file from my Google Drive or from my computer. And I can also take a look at the file requirements over here on the left side. So I'm going to select an internal file. I saved it before, so I can just click on My Files, select the file I wish to upload, add it. I'm going to add my name. And because I want to easily identify it, I'll put 2019. And I get the option as well to index it to my account repository. So if I don't want other users to reuse my paper without proper attribution, etc., it's really important that I save it in the account repository. If I think that I'm going to submit the same paper a few times, or if my student is going to be submitting the same paper a few times, I can also select not to add it to the account repository. So right now I want to select yes, and I'm going to click on confirm. It's uploading, so it usually takes a few seconds. And in just a few seconds, there we go. I can see that it is processing my similarity reports. So this is the easiest way to make a submission, but it might not be the most organized way, especially if I have a few grades that I'm teaching or a lot of students, etc. I might want to organize them by folders. And you can see here that I already have a folder. I'm going to add another one. And at the top of my options over here, I have just the option to add folder. I'm going to click add folder. I'm going to write academic integrity. Select add. And from here, I can then just open the folder. The folder is empty, so I can select upload a file. And again, it takes me to the same screen where I can choose to select files from my computer or drag and drop or select from Google Drive as well. I want to select a file from my computer. I'm going to open. And let's say that I'm uploading it on behalf of a student. I can add Jason Gibson, for example. I don't want to upload this one to my institutional repository in this instance, and I'm going to select confirm. Again, on the left side over here, it's just mentioning that it is uploading the file. If I wait for a couple of minutes, well, just a few seconds, you can see that it is processing. In a couple of minutes, I will have the result for my similarity report. There we go. So what we did now was submitting a file directly into my files and creating a folder to submit a file over there. If I go back to my files here, I'm going to open another submission inbox that has some more examples and where I can take a look at one of my files. So let's click here on the second option, and I can see all of the submissions that I make. If I want to, and I'm going to show you a third way of submitting, I can also allow my students to submit directly into a folder. If I want to do that, let's say academic integrity was the new folder that I just created. I can select it. I click on edit. And from here, it will ask me if I want to allow student submission link. And I want to select yes. I'll give them a timeline. So I want to give them, let's say, a week to make their submission. And I get this link. So I'm going to just copy the link straight away, and I'm going to click on save. If I am a student and I receive a link from my teacher, this is what I am going to see. And just to make it easier and more visible, I'm going to open a new tab. I'm going to add the link that I just used, and I'm going to add the name of my student, for example, the email address, and I can select the file type and take a look at the file requirements. So I'm just going to select the file that I have here. It allows me then to check that it's the correct file, and I also have to accept the end user license agreement to make sure that I agree with the terms and conditions. So I'm going to select it. I'm going to click that I'm not a robot, important as well. And at the bottom, then I can just select submit. Submission has been received. This may take several minutes, so I'm going to click OK. And I can, in a few minutes, if I click on academic integrity, it might not do it straight away, but let's try our luck. Yes, so it is here already. And actually the similarity report is already generated. So this is just to give you an example of how it works when a student submits to your inbox. And in a few minutes then I will have, if I share this link with other students, I would then have the list of authors with the similarity percentage and the title of the paper. So let me go back to my files over here, and let's take a look at one of the submissions that I have here. I'm going to select the one of them, college scandals, over here. And I can open it by just selecting this, the percentage of similarity. Apologies, I think I did that a little bit too quickly, and I just wanted to make sure you saw. So if I just click on the 24%, it's going to open this screen. And from here, we can see our SimCheck similarity report. I have the name and title of my paper. Throughout the paper, I will start seeing the sources. So they are all identified with a number and a color so that I can easily see where they belong. On the right side, I have my similarity report with all of my sources over here. I can see a long list. And at the bottom, I can print the similarity report. I can add, zoom, or reduce as well if I don't want to have as much zoom in my paper. So let's get started. If I want to take a look at source number 4, I can either click on it straight away, and this is going to open it in my paper, or I can, let's say I want to open source number 12 over here, I can just click on the source within the text itself. And as you can see, this opens up a text, the original text over here with the information regarding that particular source. So I have my original text here. I get to also view the full text if I want to see it side by side and make a side-by-side comparison. And I can also exclude source. So let's try another one. I'll go here to number 7. If I click on it, it's going to open to send me to the place where we can find the source, and I can also see where the source is and which part of the text is being identified. If I want, I can also click on View Full Text, and this will actually allow me to do a side-by-side comparison. Once I'm done, I can just click Done, and I can choose to do what I want with the source. So I can exclude the source if I really don't want it to be checked. If I check that it has the correct, it is correctly referenced, and I don't really mind about the similarity, I can just exclude the source over here. So if I want to do that with any sources, I can just do by clicking over at the number or in the report. I can also open the side-by-side comparison, the original website. So if I want to click here on the first link, it will just open the website with the original piece of information. Now that I checked this information, I can go through and show you the second option that we have available. This is the sources overview, and the sources overview show me the most recent and most relevant sources that I have. But as you know, this information is copied in a lot of places. A lot of the time, we don't even need the interaction of human to have a duplication of information. And this is why we have the all sources list, because you might have one source that is available in several places. So if I want, I can also take a look at all the sources here. And as you can see, it's a much, much bigger list of information, maybe 100 matches over here. And I can also click on them and follow the same process to exclude a source. So these are the two options within my sources. If I want to, I can also add some exclusions. So you can see here that I have added already exclusions of sources. If I did that and I want to re-include them, I can just click on the exclusions themselves, and I can either choose to include all sources, or I can select the ones that I wish to include by unticking them. I don't want to make any changes at the moment, so I'm going to keep it the same way. On the right side over here, there is a small option where you can select, and this will actually open the settings. From the settings here, you can choose to exclude internet or submitted work repositories. This can be used in the sense that, imagine that you only want to check this work against students within your own institution, and you don't really mind about the internet matches. In this particular instance, you can exclude the internet. Or if you just want to compare against the internet because for some reason you know your student submitted 2 or 3 times, so you don't want it to be compared against his own paper. Another option that we have available here as well is to exclude bibliography and quotes from my original document. So if I don't want to exclude them, I can just untick them. Let me go back over here and untick the quotes. If I want to add it again, as you can see, it brought it back to from a 7% to a 9% over here, because I removed the exclusions. And I can take a look at my similarity report and do the changes that I want until I have a result, or a reliable result, or the result that I am expecting. And I can do a full identification of what I should worry or shouldn't worry about in terms of the sources that show up in my text. So I'm going to close this document. And I'm going to go back to my files again because I want to give you another example. Let's see then that I have a submission that matches against a student of my own class. And it's the second one, apologies. And I want to do some further digging, some further investigation. So I selected the second document that I have here, and it is actually being compared against the submitted work from another student in my institution. And for my internal repository, I can simply click on the source. I can take a look at the main source from over here. I can either view the full text to do a side-by-side comparison, exclude the source. For example, if I check that this paper belongs to the same student and this really doesn't make much sense, or I can also check the details. So if I want to say, okay, who submitted this paper, to which class or which assignment, and is there anyone that I need to tell about this, or can I just exclude the source? So it allows you to have a full overview of the information that it is being compared against, and then you can choose to do whatever you would like to with it. So I'm going to close it now, and I'm going to show you a few more options that we have available from SimCheck. I can click on any of the papers that I have, and I can move the papers to a folder if I want to. I can edit the information, and I can also delete the paper. So deleting the paper will send it to the trash can that I have on my left side, but it will also make it invisible if I do not want it to be visible for comparison. So by doing this, I send it here to my trash can. If I click on the trash, it is right here. I can still access it. I can still take a look at the report. It just means that it's no longer going to be used to be compared against your internal database. And lastly, we have our settings, because internally I can select my own settings. So I showed you in the report how is it that you can exclude the internet, the submitted work, bibliographies, quotes, etc. You can also do that by default in your personal settings. If you don't want to, usually I will want to compare against all the databases that I have, but I might want the bibliography and quotes to be excluded by default, or the small matches, everything under 10 words, I don't want it to show up. It really is a case-by-case situation. In my case, I actually want to keep them included, so I'm not going to change this information, but it is available at any time whenever you need it. So now that we went through all of the options that SimCheck gives you, I'm gonna jump right back into our presentation. And I would like to give you a summary of what is it that we covered. We saw that just like Ephorus, SimCheck offers you a same simple submission inbox, but in a much more modern interface, easier to use, with very visual, visual cues about matches, about submissions, etc. It delivers a user-friendly report that is quite easy to interpret with its numbers, the colors, the exclusion options, etc. It's very, very reliable, so you can be sure that it's working 99.9% of the time. There is a very easy student hand-in available and you don't have to organize those submissions. You can just send them the link and it will automatically be added to the specific folder. There is a very common question, which is, oh, what happened to my papers? We've got 100,000 papers in Ephorus and we want to make sure that they are used for future submissions. If that is one of your questions as well, you can be sure that this is going to happen. We will, the papers will be migrated to your private repository and will be used for future submissions, for comparison against future submissions. The files, you can count on responsiveness and acceptance of the most of the file types that you have available, including Word files, PDFs, Google Docs, etc. And the file size actually goes up to 100 megabytes from 25 megabytes. And if you would like to use an LMS, it integrates with 3 at the moment, but there is a 2-step integration process, really simple to set up, and LTI is also being tested at the moment. So this brings us to a close of the functionalities that are available within SimCheck. We have a few minutes for some questions. If you have any questions right now, I will be taking a look at the chat and at our Q&As. So please feel free to write any questions that you have, and I'll do my best to respond to everything. Okay, we have a question here, just mostly about if the session is going to be recorded, and I can assure you that yes, it is recorded and it will be sent over to you. Another question if SimCheck supports only Google Drive or also OneDrive. At the moment, I think it only supports Google Drive, but please let me get back to you on that. I'll do a little bit more of research, and once we have the information, we can send it over as well. Let me just take a look here. Fantastic, thank you so much, Ria. I just got a message thanking for the responses as well. We will wait for a few more seconds or another minute or so to see if we get any more questions regarding the functionalities available within SimCheck. Okay. I don't think there are any more questions, but please feel free to send them over if you do have a question. I would like to remind you that we are here to help you with this integration process, with implementing SimCheck. So please reach out to anyone from our team, either if it is the professional and educational services consultants or your account managers. Please reach out for any questions, any difficulties that you might have, and we will do our very best to help you. And if there are no more questions, I would like to wish you a fantastic day. And please, and say, of course, thank you very much for your attendance today, and to please reach out and let us know if there is anything we can do to help with this process. Thank you very much, and have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.